Hi there. This video is something of a revelation or sharing with the idea to present an alternative look on what my life looks and uh, in order to avoid the possibility of this channel or me or the ideas being idolized because although I am showing positive emotions, I like what I'm doing, I sharing what I know, what I found out. There are still questions to which I don't have an answer to. Naturally, I am able to give you answers to the things that I have answers to, so that I can share them properly with whoever is watching. And that's why I'm doing it. But more or less, it might look like everything's okay on my side. I have everything, I figured out everything is ordered very well in my head, which isn't really the case. There are many questions to which I don't have the answer to, and one of the most important things that I think is a problem in my life, or I'm experienced as one, is that I'm 24 years old and I still don't have a girlfriend, and I haven't been able to establish such a connection with the person in order to make that connection, make that enter such a relationship. And it goes to show that if I can't do that, uh, how in hell do I think that I can actually be useful to other people when this is something basic in life, right? You find your other half and you continue on forward, and this is something I've been struggling with for a lot of years. I can't even say that I've been looking seriously for a girlfriend because the results are obvious. I don't have one, so naturally that would mean that I'm not really that serious in finding one. And again, um, mostly I'm basing this on the fact that I'm keeping to some ideas that I deem important in order for a relationship to start what it's supposed to look like. In most cases, I think that's what's limiting me. But I don't know how to balance it with. I actually don't know how to let go and accept a person, because usually that's what happens, right? You accept the possibility of it happening, or of something happening, and it just does in some form, in some way or form. And I can interpret my relationship with other people as something that I'm looking forward to. Not usually I'm a loner and I prefer to stay alone, because that's when I feel most sure, secure. Well, not secure, but sure of what I have to do. And there's no interruptions. That's I think the premise on why I would prefer to be alone. Because another thing that bothers me is that I love social contact. I actually strive towards having more and more, but it's difficult for me to do my job then. For example, I have it, I have lost the passion of. Okay, that's not true. So. Uh, these ideas are a little harder to express in English because I haven't thought about it that way. But what I want to mention is that when I'm in social contact, I don't actually know what I should be doing. I don't know how to be correct with people and at the same time do what I usually want to do, because there's usually or that's what I see. The truth is that I don't feel like I'm straightforward with people, and that might be another problem or issue for the reason why I still don't have a girlfriend. Another thing that I'm struggling with is balancing the material and the practical part. Now, what do I mean? When I buy something, it's usually because, for the most part, I just really want to get it. I do go through a big process of thinking if I actually need that thing, but mostly I'm not sure if it's actually useful or meaningful in the life that I have, and I don't know if I'm getting it to feed my ego, or if it's because it will actually help me further my development. And this is practically it. I really these are the questions that I mostly am struggling with. It's really kind of just a minor roadblock for every single time, because I can find a reason to do all of the things except maybe the establishing contact with girls or women in general, because I'm really not sure how I should proceed depending on what I've seen and what I think I should be doing. So there's still a struggle there as well. But I can. These are the questions that I have every time I tend to start working on something, depending if it's an article, if it's on a video, mostly on videos, because another problem is that I've neglected both my websites. They've been bought and created 2 years ago. The channels started being developed hardly a year ago, and the websites are just kind of a front. They have absolutely no information in them. They're just there, and they're just prepared for me to start working on them, which is kind of terrible, because let's say that my organization skills are terrible as well. I struggle with that as well. I am looking for ways to earn more money in order to get in an easier financial life. At the same time, that means that I'm too busy to work on the videos, maybe the articles, read something. I can't get myself to read anything lately. And at some point my brain starts looking at those things as like, you're not doing them, you're not going to do them, and that's just the block that I start facing, and I have to refix again, because I haven't managed to do it for a couple of days, and after that I'm just blaming myself for not doing them. It's not really a practical and a good way of looking at it, but it's what I do, and it's kind of the way that I've chosen to go at it, because mostly when there's a problem with something, we're the source of the problem, or I'm the source of the problem, is what I mean. And I find it easier to blame myself instead of the conditions around myself, because when I blame myself, I can actually take responsibility for that. It doesn't always work out well. There still have to be an objective point of view of what choices I've made, why I've made them, what I've done in that period of time, and why I've done it, and etc. Another thing is that although I love social contact, I'm having difficulties being in a creating a social environment, let's say that. I mostly wait for somebody to invite me instead of, and when I say mostly, I mean like 99% of the time, even more probably. Instead of organizing something that I would like to do, I really don't know, or I have accepted the viewpoint that I don't know how to organize people and to organize groups, social meetings, or whatever it is. I'm using social in a general perspective in this case, but I think you get what I mean. And that bothers me sometimes, because I know I know why I'm not doing it, but I still think that I should do something. The problem is that I'm not sure what I should be doing. How can I organize people and at the same time make that event or gathering or whatever it is useful in a way that's actually going to be positive for the people. It's probably the same as finding a girlfriend, because I'm holding on to ideas that don't necessarily need to be that specific. But I don't know. There are still things that I need to try. In that sense, I just want to share that every idea that's represented in the videos of Key Practical Build are directed towards expressing an idea that might be useful to you, the viewer, whoever it is, whoever's watching it or reading it. It doesn't really matter if it's an article or a video, but it's never the exact answer that is going to help in the end. It's always a variation, and it might not actually be the idea that's represented in the video. It might actually develop into something else that I haven't figured out yet, or seen, or realized, or whatever it is. So again, those videos aren't really 100% helpful. It depends on the responsibility of the viewer, how he or she is going to handle it, depending on what conclusions he or she makes out of them. So that's another message, I guess, in this video, is to the message is towards you to be responsible when you're watching and reading something, because it's our personal choice that makes the development and not something else. And the biggest reason for me sharing this is because of the EPR paradox, where it said that there's no objective reality. That means that it's actually everybody's living a different life. There's no objectivity in it. It's the way that we look and perceive the world as how we're going to see it and experience it, and that in its stead predefines the results that we're going to have. And it's really up to us to take up the responsibility of change. That's pretty much it.